Alright, so far I've changed the background so that it pulses between two colors. But I want to make it even more dynamic, and the way I'm going to do that now is I'm going to add, I'm going to mess around with the particle system and have some sort of dynamic particles happening in the background. So that'll be fun. Some of you will probably be happy to know that there will be no programming in this part. It's all going to be in Unity Editor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a particle system, and I want it to be there no matter where the camera is traveling. So I'm going to attach it to the camera. So in our camera holder, the one that's next to our on the same plane as our player, I'm going to add a component, and I'm going to make that a particle system. And you can see they have like sort of the default particles happening there. So previous to this, I found an image that I wanted to mess around with, and so I'm going to import that. It's on my desktop, so I'm going to grab this flower pattern and put it into, I'll put it into my, so it's going to be a texture, it's not going to be a sprite, so I'll just put in my assets for now, and I can just show you in a photo what it sort of looks like. So I found this online. I made it white instead of black so that I can mess around with it. You can find whatever sort of image floats your boat and online and mess around with that in the particle system. Mine, I'm going to make sure, interestingly, it defaulted to sprite, but I want to make that, I'll just make a default texture, and then make sure that it has alpha transparency, and apply. And what I'm going to do, if you see my particle system, in the very last part here in the renderer, sort of the render style, we can feed in a material so that it's not these like default nasty pink squares. And so I'm going to go create a material. So I right click and then I create, where's material? Okay, the top in the middle of this thing here. And I'm going to do flower pattern. Oops. Flower pattern. And that's my material. And then messing around with the material itself, I'm going to change the shader of the material to particles, and I'll just do the first one. Additive is fine. Next, I get to select the texture. So if I select here, or if I can go here and drag and drop, not the material, drag and drop this, and now I have a material for my particles. I can also change the color here if I want to. I can make that just completely white for now, and then we can change that in the particle system. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to check my material, not trail material, because we're not going to create trails this time. You can mess around with it if you want. I'll select my flower pattern, and I have like these little snowflakes. If I zoom in enough, so that's kind of neat, but I don't really like how that looks, so I'm going to keep messing around with it. It might be nice to have, well, first I want to have like an offset, because I don't want, sometimes depending on where you're at in the 3D scene, right now it's in a cone, so it's let's see its shape. So we look at the shape. So if it's in a cone, you can sort of see here, this is how it's going to be emitting from the origin here. I kind of want to make it more of a 2D thing, so I'm going to select circle, so it just sort of, the particles move out on basically a 2D plane. This is a billboard, so no matter how I look around, it's gonna give me like one side of the sprite, so that's fine. But you can see it sort of sometimes it renders over our like background here, and I don't really want that to happen, so I'm just gonna go ahead and give it an offset. So the position here, I'm just gonna move backwards in the Z direction, and just do something like that. So maybe I'll put it at 50. Since we're in isometric, like this doesn't really affect the size all that much, so that's nice. If our camera was perspective, then our particles would look much smaller, but I have it orthographic, so it's fine. Next thing I want to do with the particle system is I want to have like, the reason I chose this texture is I want all of these sort of lines to start intersecting with each other, so I want to make them really big. So I'm going to go into this first sort of header section and look at start size, and I'm going to make that maybe 10. That's kind of cool. Maybe 20. Yeah, that's starting to look kind of neat. And I think I also want to make the range of the circle a little bit larger, like 5 or so. If you see here, if I focus in on that, that's sort of where the particles are going to show up. It's hard to see my cursor, huh? We can change that radius so we can make it bigger and like sort of appear in a little bit of different spots. Maybe 20 is good there too. You can sort of see them popping in, which I don't like, so I'm going to change it so that like it colors in gradually. So I'm going to do like a color over lifetime. So if I select this and I click it, this little header color over lifetime, and I click that, then I can change the alpha from, it's going to start out at 0 and then fade in into a color that we like. I kind of like that better. So it's not so obvious where each of these are like showing up, so that's kind of neat. You can just see how that looks with the color changing. That's kind of cool. That's not what I imagined yet, though. I want to have these rotate as well and make like make them sort of spin as they're traveling. So if I click rotation over lifetime, I can sort of change how much it's going to rotate. I can do something like 60, so it's rotating faster. 100 would be, ooh, that's kind of cool. Just 200 for funsies. All right, now I'm going to do like 80. I like 80. Okay. Might be fun to mess around. I think I want to make these even larger, so I'm just gonna I'm going to change this to like 40 maybe, or 100. I don't want the shape to be so obvious, so I think there's a maximum that we've hit. Well, I can also have it emit more over time. So the rate over time right now is 10. If I do low, then we'll only see a few particles at a time, but if I do it higher, it sort of gets maybe a little bit crazier. I kind of like that's kind of interesting. Now it's being less, it's less obvious that where the particles start, so that's a lot of particles though. Yeah, so I'll keep going from there. It's kind of an interesting, like, electric almost. What else can we mess around with? So we can go from, we can change our color. We change the alpha here. We can change our color from one to another. So we don't have to apply our like color swapper that we've done. We can just do this. We can have it start at like red. What's our background again? It's like purple and yeah, let's maybe do something that offsets that, like red and let's see, if I select this one, that's how it ends up. It changes to green or something. That's getting trippy. Maybe it's kind of fiery, huh? Let's see how that looks in the scene. That's kind of neat. I like it. Now we're getting really trippy. It's pretty cool. Another thing you notice is that like when you first start, there's no particles until enough of them are made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this pre-warm. So that way right when the scene starts, we'll already have a lot of them. So it's already kind of crazy. Oof. Man, that's psychedelic. I like it. Okay, I'm not bad at the game though. Yeah, I don't know what else we might want to do. Noise, collision, triggers, lights. I think this is probably pretty decent for now. I'm pretty happy with it. We could randomize rotation, so I mean this is symmetrical, so it's not going to really do this that much, but if we hit 1, I think it's from 1 to 0, yeah. So 1 will be completely random. The less it is, the smaller the change will be. 3D rotation, no. Scaled. Alright, I don't want to make this video too long, so I think that'll be it. Let's check it out again. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Alright.